Hey everyone, it's RobbRyder. You're looking at my electric bill, which shows a past due amount of zero, but a current balance of $2,939.78, due on the 10th of June, 2015. Anybody else have one of those show up in their box here recently? Because my past due amount is zero, but now I owe almost $3,000. And so now when you look at this on a certain page, it shows, what did it show? Payment history. Let's go look at this. This is showing that in the last 12 months I didn't make any payments, right? That's what this is showing. Now if I change this to the last 5 years, and let it do its thing, it shows the last payment made was March 4th, 2014, right? Not just last March, a year ago March. So where'd the other payments go? Well, I don't know, but that would explain why there's almost $3,000 in charges, I would have to think. But it made me go look at some things because I'm not really ever happy with the power company. I have a history with the power company, and if you've followed me from the beginning, you might know a little bit about that. But I've had my power turned off 3-4 times and sat here for 10 days before without any power, and so I'm happy to go find something I can use if necessary in my defense. And finally they provoked me again to go look at something, and well, that's what this is kind of about, because Estovers are free, and it is Monday, Memorial Day, May 25th, 2015. And in English law, Estovers is wood that a tenant is allowed to take for life or for a period of years from the land he holds for repair of his house, the implements of husbandry, hedges, fences, and for firewood. In other words, his energy. It arises from French, blah, blah, meaning that which is necessary. So that's what an Estover is, and this goes back to the Magna Carta, and it wasn't in the first Magna Carta, but it was in the one that showed up a couple years later, in which the widow was able to collect the Estovers, meaning she could go out in the woods, get wood to make, so she could have some firewood to cook her meal. In the first one, that wasn't even in there. There was nothing in there for the widow. And it was strictly a contract between the king and his barons, and the barons were the Jews that came over in 1066 A.D., or whenever the Norman invasion was, and who that king installed in all the cities, as his sheriff or businessman or whatever it is. They were the king's property. They signed a contract with the king and became his property. The kings, as it were. And eventually they ended up running the whole show and kicked the kings out. And that's why the Rothschilds are here now, and it used to be, King Henry VIII. So, crazy things have happened, but I'm not really here to talk about that, other than they're supposed to be free. That was in the Magna Carta, so it's common law that basically your firewood should be free. And I had listened to a guy that was, he's a professor at the University of Toledo. I don't remember what his name is, but if you were put University of Toledo and Magna Carta, I'm sure you would find the professor that do it in YouTube. And he had done, was doing some kind of lecture tour talking about this concept of the Magna Carta. And he's the one that pointed out the thing about the Estovers. And so, okay, now I'm thinking about that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it. And it's just the way the Holy Spirit works, because all this fits into these other things that we have just been finding the last week or so. The other way that the government could be set up. So we're going to look at it. And I am RobbRyder. Well, that's what I call myself. Court of Record at AOL.com is my email address if you'd like to get a hold of me. If you can, please do donate. I do this. This is all I do. So if it's a value and it's been of any help, or you just entertainment value, whatever, if you could send me a couple bucks, I'd really appreciate it. And you could do that at the PayPal account, which is ashleyrutlewski@gmail.com, or by snail mail to Robert Rutlewski, 10955 14 Mile Road, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. Okay, so what? Where are you going to start with this? Well, we're going to start here. Part of what was coming up, anyways, that um, was becoming apparent for the following reasons: that everything we try and what we believe to be the judicial branch, it doesn't work, and they're not following the law, and they're not filing paperwork correctly, and there's errors and omissions, and it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to let you win. uh, an attorney pretty much told Roe that. Well, they're not going to let you win in that court. There you go. They're not going to let you win in that court. Quit trying to go in there and try to win. You can't do it. Well, so because of that, I said, okay, well then, according to Blackstone, it should be that we go to the legislative court, because the legislature is the highest, according to Blackstone, the legislative court of Parliament is the highest court in the land. It's the Supreme Court. So we go there and start looking, and pretty soon we find out, because we're really good at doing this first, well, let's go look at their oath and bonds, and hey, guess what? These people don't have any oaths or bonds either. And so your U.S. representative, this is all the way up to your U.S. representative, all the way down to your township supervisor, them people, that whole group of people, none of those people have taken a proper oath or filed a bond or done anything it says to do in the law for them to actually hold the office that they're claiming to hold. They're usurping the office. And it's part of a criminal enterprise, right? Welcome to America. So we hadn't had any luck with, even putting things into our congressman. Right? In my last video, I point out this is what they have to have an oath. And if you go follow the trail I led you down, that you're going to see they don't have any oaths that have been filed and put in the proper record the way that the U.S. Code says to do. And so I'm scratching my head saying, well, shit, man, what are we going to do? What do you look at next? And lo and behold, one of the things that came up is this thing here. Now, this is kind of like the lowercase Supreme Court. So if you're reading the laws and you see lowercase Supreme Court in Michigan, now this is for Michigan, then they're talking about these people, in my opinion. And what is it? So they passed an act in 1921. The State Administrative Board has general supervisory control over the administrative activities of all state departments, agencies, including, but not limited to, and then it goes on. All right, first of all, that's lowercase state departments. Lowercase state departments. That's the territory. That's federal. So this board has supervisory control over the administration of all the federal, territorial, state departments and agencies, including but not limited to. The State Administrative Board members are the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, State Treasurer, Superintendent of Public Instruction, Director of Public Transportation. These people sit together on a committee, just like a Supreme Court, and they have general supervisory control over all administrative activities of all state departments and agencies, period. Right? You can put a period there, but no, it includes, but not limited to, right? So our beef is with people from the administrative branch of the government either not doing what we're asking them to or bringing false charges against us, because all attorneys are officers in the administrative branch. They're civil officers. They took a voluntary oath. They're not in the judicial branch. They're in the administrative branch. Technically, they're under the Attorney General, and he's on the board, right? So this is the administrative branch. And so this is the Supreme Court, but there is other courts between the Supreme Court and you, and they're the administrative hearing officers, or the ombudsman, or the whatever they call it. And so, for instance, one of the things we're following up on is the birth certificate information. That's supposed to be recorded in a certain place in a certain way, and you can file the law through and so forth. And so that's a particular division of a particular agency. So you're going to go to here is the state registrar. You go to the state registrar and you talk about this stuff, and they don't help you out. Well, now what do? Well, according to, when you read the law, or the rules, I should say, because this is not, this is all administrative side, so it's really the rules we're talking about now. The rules would tell you that you would go to the administrative hearing officer of the agency. And as it turns out, that could be the director of the agency, or they may have appointed a administrative law judge for the agency. So that's what you do, right? You don't, it's again, this comes to where you file the complaint. These people won't do what I'm asking them to do. Apparently, you would file it with the administrative law judge. So let's look at that, and I'm going to show you how it fits together with your power company stuff, and that at the end of the day, you're probably not going to have to pay any power bills anymore, if this is what it is. But the other thing about this that's interesting, this state administrative board made up of the governor and so forth, is that there's just one page here where they talk about, okay, the Department of Technology Management and Budget designates a secretary to the state administrative board and provides staff support. Okay, then you go to this website for this Welcome to the Michigan Department of Technology Management and Budget website. As director, I invite you to explore this site and learn more about DTMB's functions as the administrative arm of state government. So the Department of Technology and Management and Budget is the administrative arm of state government. It didn't say as one of, it says as the administrative arm of state government. One of a kind. So these are all things that we're going to be looking at this week, but it just happened that it fit in with this utility stuff so wonderfully. So what do I want to start with? Some of the other things we're going to look at, because it's the lowercase state, which is really federal territory jurisdiction. Again, these are my opinions, right? You don't have to agree with me, but if you could just consider for a second and look at the things we're going to look at, it'll make sense. Well, one of the other things there is because we had been looking at the birth certificate stuff, well, there's a Model State Vital Statistics Act and regulation, and it's from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. So this isn't an act from the legislature. This is an act from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. And it's telling all the state registrars how to register register births, deaths, and so forth. And so this is the act that your state has to follow. If they don't follow this act, they're not following a federal act, and that falls then under these administrative tribunals that would go up through the governor, and could even go into federal then, because this is federal law we're looking at. And the other interesting thing that goes with this is here's the U.S. Standard Birth Certificate of Live Birth. All right? And basically, we're probably all familiar with this section up here from 1 to 11 going across, right? That's kind of what they show you when you get a certificate of live birth. But there's all this other information that they're not showing you that is part of that form, because this is the one the Act says to use. Right? And it's not just one page. This is, it's going on 2 pages. What's on the 3rd page? Yeah, there's really nothing on the 3rd page but a note. But all the way down to, was the infant transferred within 24 hours of delivery? Yes or no? Is the infant living at this time of report? Yes, no? Infant transferred? They don't know. Is the infant being breastfed at discharge? Yes, no. Right, what happened to the baby? Because as it looks, in my case, and this is why this is important, because in my case, and by this act, actually this act is even a better example. It says within 5 days the child's birth has to have been registered with the state registrar. And on my certificate of live birth, it was 13 days after birth. Right? So if it isn't done within 5 days, why wasn't it done within 5 days? And they don't want to answer these questions. And we're trying to get the records. They don't want to give them to us. And what we hadn't understood is when they say, well, that's going to take a court order, we think we need to go see the judge everybody thinks about. And no, I don't think so. We tell them, well, then let's go see your administrative hearing officer and get a court order. For this person here to give me my record, he needs to be authorized from somebody above him, and that's going to take an order. And they call it a court order because technically everything's a court. So these will be covered in more detail here soon, and I'm just showing them now because all these things are based on federal laws that are being executed by people within what we would think is the state government. And so without any further ado, let's go look at something here. What did this say here? Okay. I put this up here mainly because after starting to research this, hey, they have a utility consumer participation board. The 5-member board provides grants to qualified applicants to present the interest of Michigan's residential energy utility customers at residential energy proceedings before the Michigan Public Service Commission. I think I may see if I can get some of that grant money. Because in the Michigan Constitution, Section 7, Article 7, subsection 29, it says, no person, partnership, association, or corporation, public or private, operating a public utility shall have the right to the use of highways, streets, alleys, or other public places of any county, township, city, village, for wires, poles, pipes, tracks, conduits, and other utility facilities without the consent of a duly constituted authority of the county, township, city, village, or to transact local business therein without first obtaining a franchise from the township, city, village, except as otherwise provided in the Constitution, the rights of all counties, townships, cities, villages, to the reasonable control of their highways, streets, alleys, and public places is hereby reserved to such local units of government. All that to tell you this, if they don't have a franchise in your township, city, village, lowercase county, whatever that is, well, they can't do business there. And so you should check to see if they have a franchise. And I did. I went to my county's website and looked at the ordinances for the township of Oakfield, and they have issued a franchise, but it's to the Great Lakes Energy Cooperative Electrical franchise. Well, I don't have the Great Lakes Energy Cooperative Electrical franchise. I have Consumers Energy. Oh, where did it go? So, what's the ordinance say anyways? An ordinance granting the Great Lakes Energy Cooperative. Now there is a Great Lakes Energy Power Company, and the Great Lakes Energy Cooperative is a part of the power company, but that isn't who got the franchise. The Great Lakes Energy Cooperative got the franchise. Important you pay attention to this level. Great Lakes Energy Cooperative. Its successors and assigns the right, power, and authority to construct, maintain, and commercially use electrical lines consisting of towers, masts, poles, crossarms, guys, braces, feeders, transmissions, and distribution wires, transformers, and other electrical appliances and facilities on, under, and across the highways, streets, alleys, bridges, waterways, and other public places, and to do a local business in the township of Oakfield, Kenton County, Michigan, for a period of 15 years. the grant. The township of Oakfield. Again, see, they like to talk about Oakfield Township. That's the sign coming in. It's actually doing the business for the place called the Township of Oakfield, which is the Township of Oakfield is the political subdivision. Oakfield Township is a corporation that's kind of usurped the powers of the political subdivision. Nevertheless, the political subdivision has offered this franchise to Great Lakes Energy. Hereby grants the right, power, and authority to Great Lakes Energy Cooperative, Michigan nonprofit electrical cooperative, its successors and assigns, to construct, maintain, commercially use electrical lines consisting of towers, blah, 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 all the stuff we just read, right? That's what it gets to do, and to do a local business. That's all it gets to do. It has nothing to do with power generation, metering, just transmission, and a local electrical business. Well, if we go and look at Great Lakes Energy Cooperative, okay, I'm done with you, consumers. You'll be hearing from the council. See, here we go. You got a Great Lakes Energy, which is greatlakes.com, and you got Great Lakes Energy Cooperative, which is Michigan-Energy.org. Well, this is the one. Great Lakes Energy doesn't have the franchise. Great Lakes Energy Cooperative does. Let's see what kind of business they do. Below are the energy optimization programs that Great Lakes Energy Cooperative offers to its members. Low-income services, Energy Star Solutions, appliance recycling, efficient heating, ventilation, air conditioning, online home audits, home performance program. There's nothing in here about selling you any electricity whatsoever. They don't have a franchise to do it. They got a franchise to deliver it to you, but not to say the power, just to deliver it. So, what does all that mean? That's the crazy thing. What does all that mean? Let's well, here's that department. So this is the administrative arm of the entire government of the state of Michigan, lowercase state. Run through this office right here. Forget all the other website stuff they have, where the Secretary of State's office is, and all these other things, although some of it does apply. This is the administrative arm of lowercase state government. And everybody in what you think of the state is being funded by the lowercase state, which is the federal side of the dual sovereignty. Okay, so was I done with that? Yeah. Except for here, so a complaint. If you put a complaint in, so now this is just looking at the Public Utilities Commission. I mean, who has jurisdiction over utilities in your state? That's who we're talking about. Upon complaint in writing that any rate, classification, regulation, or practice charged, made, or observed by any public utility is unjust, inaccurate, or improper, to the prejudice of the complainant, the Commission shall proceed to investigate the matter. And I say it's unjust for Consumers Energy to charge me for electricity in a jurisdiction that they don't have a franchise in. That'll be my complaint. Because the Constitution of Michigan says that they have to have one. So they can't allow them not to have one, or that would be war with the Constitution. First obtaining a franchise. Right, you can make arrangements to transport it across the way, but if you want to do a local business in the township, then you need to get a franchise, and they don't have one. I don't know if they ever expected us to know that or not, but you know, now we do. So how do you file a complaint? Um, as a resident customer of natural gas electric utility, if you object to an action of the regulated utility company, you have a right to file a formal complaint. You should first contact the company and work with them to resolve the problem. However, if you continue to disagree with the company decision, you may contact the Michigan Public Service Commission staff for help through an informal complaint, which I have already done. I've done the informal complaint. You fill a thing out online and you send it in, and as it turned out, Consumers Energy had a complaint thing on theirs, and I did that one, and it was both the same thing. I said, all of a sudden, I got a $2,900 bill, and you're not showing payments for the last so many months, 15 months, whatever it was. And, right, so I put all that in on Friday. Because it's important, if you have a complaint, to put your complaint in. That's one of the things they're going to point out in this thing. So, but if you remain dissatisfied after the staff completes its review of the situation, and I got to talk to the staff now, I have new information to share with them, you may file a formal complaint which requests a hearing before an administrative law judge. At the hearing, you have the opportunity to present evidence to support your case. Right? So this would go to an administrative law judge. It wouldn't go to the district court or the circuit court or the appeals court. It goes to an administrative law judge that's within this body that regulates the utility companies. Your complaint must include all the information regarding your claim, especially when referring to an MPSC, so the Michigan Public Service Commission rule you feel may have been violated. It didn't say anything about the Michigan compiled laws or the criminal code. You need to point out what they're doing wrong by their rules. And that's the key, right? It's not going to be per Michigan compiled law. It's going to be by a rule, and we'll see some examples here shortly, that you're saying that the people that are regulated by it are violated. Because your complaint must first be determined by a commission attorney to address matters under the commission's authority to resolve. After a determination has been made that a complaint is under the commission's jurisdiction, the complaint will then have the burden of proving your case before an administrative law judge. The complainant will. Copies of the rules, laws apply can be found at the commission's website. Boom. And so when you go to this website, sure enough, it shows the Michigan Constitution is one of the laws to be followed, and that says they have to have a franchise. And if you go to the township website, well, they don't have a franchise. So I would say it's in the commission's jurisdiction. If you're a small business or commercial account, this complaint doesn't conform to you. This complaint form is not for you. Well, this isn't, because this bill isn't in my all caps. It's in Robert A. Rytlewski, that character they made up sometime in the past. Your middle initial name, that's like the federal officer they want everybody to be so that you're within their jurisdiction as an employee or officer or whatever. Right? So I don't have a middle initial. I have my proper person is Robert Allen Rytlewski, and they want me to be Robert A. Nevertheless, it's not in the name of my all caps, Robert Allen Rytlewski. It's in the name of Robert A. So it's not what would be considered a legal entity. So I don't need to have an attorney. That's what all this is about. They have the wrong character, but or the wrong individual. But what are you going to do? Before mailing, please make sure to check the list is complete. State the rules and tariff provisions you believe that have been violated. What are you complaining about? Study the descriptions exactly. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Please mail original signed, dated complaint with 7 additional copies to the Executive Secretary, Michigan Public Service Commission. It gives the P.O. Box and so forth. So, because other places it talked about sending it to the secretary, but now they're talking about the executive secretary. So it's a phone call away saying, who exactly am I sending this thing to? And it also talked about being able to do this electronically, and you may not have to send 7 copies. I haven't had a chance to look that close yet. But Right? So this is, saying that I can do it if I believe something's unjust, and I would say, yeah, they don't have a town. Consumers Energy doesn't have a franchise to sell me any electricity. So yeah, I got a complaint. And I got the Michigan Constitution says, well, they have to have a franchise to do business in the township. It's just like having a business license, right? These are the things we pointed out before that none of these people have. It's just, well, who do you give this stuff to? And now it looks like, oh, you give it to these administrative hearings. So as it turns out in Michigan, there's a number of these. Well, let's go back here. What did they call that? Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, Michigan Administrative Hearing System. Right? So they have this hearing system, and in this hearing system are a number of different departments that have their administrative hearing procedures part of. And like the Department of Transportation, Insurance and Financial Services. So if you had a problem with a bank, right, this is Part 6. We may have some problems with the bank, especially if you have a in your possession that says that your mortgage has been satisfied. Well, then they should send you back the securities, because that's all the securities were ever for, were because apparently you agreed you had a mortgage. Although you never really did have a mortgage because the bank never signed the paperwork, and on and on and on. But all that money you put into an escrow account is yours. The bank never did sign the paperwork. And but if somebody puts into your property file that your mortgage has been satisfied, then all the securities that you put up until the mortgage was satisfied are supposed to be returned to you. And your payments are security payments. Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, Health Code, Disciplinary. Okay, so that would be medical, I guess. And this one, corporation, securities. Oh, this one could be for attorneys, CPAs, professionals that are supposed to be doing things in the name that's on their license, which is their proper person. And instead, they use a middle initial, and so they did not appear in their official capacity. Community health providers. And then here's the big one for next week, Department of Human Services and Community Health. This is who you would put a complaint into, because the damn state registrar didn't register your frickin' birth in time. And so you're not... your proper person has never been properly registered. You were cast out in the desert. You may have been baptized and born again, but then they didn't put that one in the proper register either, so you were cast out again. Because they didn't properly register you at birth, you are being denied your birthright, which is to say you're a national of the United States. Right now, you're stateless. I've covered all this in videos before, but that's the one that would be. Occupation safety and health, and goes on and on and on. And the one we're dealing with, though, is Public Service Commission, practices and procedures before the commission. All right. Okay, this goes to page 69. So I just highlighted a bunch of things in these next things. These are all things you would have to go find your version of, right? But here's some rules, right? R is for a rule. And these are the rules that have to do with practice and procedure before the commission. This is like it's civil procedure. So, if you're doing a traffic case or any of these other cases you've done where you've been looking at the rules and so forth, just another version. Right? These are the rules that are used in the administrative arm of the government that's under the commission formed by the governor and the lieutenant governor and the rest of them. It's their other hat, basically, the federal hat, because we have dual sovereignty running through the country. State sovereignty, federal sovereignty. Well, all the state offices have been vacated. They don't have a proper oath, proper bond. They don't appear in their proper person. None of that. But they could be over in the federal jurisdiction, where they do use middle initials. It seems to me, as I remember in the Army, that we use middle initials. A long time ago, somebody's more recent to me, you got a middle initial, right? You get rid of your middle name and they give you a middle initial. Okay, so complainant means one who files a complaint pursuant to these rules. Well, that's simple enough. Proof of publication means affidavit stating the facts of publication, including date, publication, manner, publication, yada, yada, yada. Proof, right? Proof is really good stuff. We need proof. Presiding officer means administrative law judge assigned to the hearings by the hearing system or other person assigned by the commission to preside over the hearing, yada, yada, yada. Secretary means a person designated by the commission as the secretary, or in absence of the secretary, the person designated by the commission as its acting secretary. And it had said on the form that you would send the complaint to the executive secretary. Right? Here they just call him the secretary. So these are the things that, well, if you want to be sure, you either need to make a phone call or just know that what secretary they are talking about. Pleadings, verifications, and effects. Unless otherwise provided by these rules, statutes, commission order, a pleading need not be verified or accompanied by an affidavit. Pleadings and other documents are filed with the commission by filing with the secretary. Okay, this is us now. In all residential complaint cases, a party shall file an original and 7 copies of each document. Confidential filings shall be made in accordance with the eDockets user manual. And this is where I talked about, maybe we can do it online. eDockets user manual. Filings may be removed from the eDocket only after submission of a written formal request. Because I really want to get it in there and not have it removed. It's like, yeah, I'm going to use this eDocket if I'll go look at it. Files are advised to consult to some guide as a description of documents that may be rejected from filing. Right, so follow their rules, right? Now I got to go find out what all this stuff means and go see what I need to do to use the eDocket. But it would keep me from having to send them 7 copies. And once it's in there, it can't be removed without a written formal request for removal. If the required number of copies is not filed, the document shall be subject to rejection by the presiding officer of the commission unless the party files additional copies promptly after an admission is called to the attention of the party. So they at least need to tell you didn't send enough copies. They can't reject it without telling you didn't send enough copies. A party shall serve on all of the parties a copy of each document that the party files with the commission. After notice of hearings has been given in a proceeding, a party shall serve on the assigned presiding officer, or if the presiding officer has not been assigned, on the administrative law manager assigned by the hearing system, a copy of each document that the party files. Proper notice. Proceedings, locations, time. So, this is no different than going and reading any other way that you're supposed to run a court case. This is the procedure that you have to follow and that they have to follow. Persons who are not a complainant, now this one's interesting, respondent, protestant, applicant, staff as defined in these rules, and who claims an interest in a proceeding may petition for leave to intervene. We could end up with a third-party intervener by putting this in. Petition for leave to intervene shall be set out clearly and concisely in the facts supporting the petitioner's alleged right or interest. Objections, grants, denials, participation without intervention, motor carrier proceedings. For whatever reason, motor carrier is in this particular Michigan Public Service Commission. Right? It's not in the traffic. It's in over here. So somehow, you're involved in an administrative hearing over in this administrative tribunal over here you didn't even know existed. Because I bet you everything to do with traffic cases happens in these motor carrier proceedings. But I'm not here for that right now. Right now it's just the utility. So, general provisions, hearings, contested case proceedings shall be held when required by statute and may be held when the commission so directs. Just like court. A simplified procedure, when agreed to by all parties, the presiding officer may direct that the proceedings be processed under simplified procedure if it appears that substantially all issues of material fact can be resolved by means of written submission and the efficient disposition of the proceeding can be made without an oral hearing. So you're going to point out to them whether they're violating the Constitution. I think we should be able to go to the simplified procedure. Pre-hearing conferences, discovery, subpoenas, right? They can do a subpoena. It's as strong as any subpoena that the Supreme Court can put out. Summary dispositions. Okay. A party may make a motion for summary disposition of all or part of the proceeding. That's what I'm going to do. Ask for summary disposition. Evidence generally, right? So I got to spend more time looking at all this stuff, but it's just kind of what works. Settlements. Well, I want all my money back. That's my settlement. You guys never had the right to sell power in my backyard. Right? Well, you're not. Somebody say, "Well, you're not supposed to get free power." Well, swear to it. Right? Open up a court case. Right now, all I'm saying is you're not supposed to get it. Maybe somebody else is, but it's not Consumers Energy. They don't have a franchise. Motion practice. I would say we can say that's enough. All complaints, maybe. Okay, so a complaint shall be limited to matters involving alleged unjust, inaccurate, or improper rate of charges, or unlawful or unreasonable acts, practices, or omissions of a utility or motor carrier. Motor carrier, again, including a violation of any commission rule, regulation, order, including a tariff filed or published by a utility or motor carrier. And the tariff is what you're going to charge for things. And they have to file them. Formal complaints, we already talked about this a bit. Specific proceedings. They just declaratory rulings, right? It's court in another jurisdiction because the state's been vacated. Just some of the very interesting rules. So when I said that, go to this site to see the rules, when you started to look at them all, it led you to all these different documents that are easy enough to find online that have to do with how utilities are supposed to do business in your state. So this is Public Service Commission for Electric and Gas Residential Service, application of rules. These rules apply to residential utility service that is provided by electrical and natural gas utilities that are subject to the jurisdiction of the Public Service Commission. Right? So some of the things it could be is an incorrect application of a rate schedule. Charges for tariff service means rates for regulated electrical gas service other than charges approved by the Commission. Other than charges approved by the... Okay. So the Commission has approved some charges, and then they got these tariff service charges above and beyond, but they need to have been published. Formal hearing means request for hearing request means document describing how a regulated utility has violated customers' rights. Right? That's call it a complaint, call it a formal hearing request. Hearing officer means a notary public who is qualified to administer oaths to conduct informal customer complaint hearings against the utility company and who is on a list with file with the commission. A hearing officer, right? A notary public could be a hearing officer. I guess that makes them a justice of the peace. A regulation officer means a member of the commission staff who resolves complaints in accordance with these rules. I like this one because I think that this is the one I'm going to say they're guilty of this. Unauthorized use of utility service means theft, fraud, interference, diversion of service, including but not limited to meter tampering, any act which affects proper registration of service through a meter, bypassing unmetered service that flows through a device connected without a service line or customer-owned facilities, between a service line and customer-owned facilities, and service restoration by anyone other than the utility or its representative. Well, this is the things that Consumers Energy is doing because they don't have a franchise to do business in my township. So anything they're doing is interfering with the service that the franchise utility company is providing. They're unauthorized. They're guilty of the unauthorized use of the other utilities service. Conduct of proceedings. Informal proceedings required by these rules shall not constitute a contested case as defined. Okay. Utility rules that shall be an integral part of its tariffs. Utility rules shall be an integral part of its tariffs. Okay. And these tariffs are things that they have to submit that we're going to get a copy of. Yeah. Company representative identification. Upon request, the utility representative reading the meter shall provide the customer or other household member with appropriate picture identification confirming the representative's employment with the company. It's just, I came across this ad highlighted because way back in the day, I had pointed that out to the people that came to my door that, according to the penal code, you have to show me your ID. He says, well, we don't show it to you. It's for our protection. And I had written a complaint up based on the penal code and sent it to a judge. And long story short, I ended up hearing from her. She said, well, it's not that you're not correct, but I'm not inclined to issue any warrants. But here it is again. Now it's in as a rule. Now, I'm not going to use it again this time, but I'm just saying, here's rules, right? All these are rules they have to follow. They didn't follow these rules, and this is what you're going to point out, the rules they didn't follow. Except as otherwise provided by statute, utility shall bill each customer for the amount of natural gas, electricity consumed, and any other approved charges in accordance with the rates and tariffs approved by the Commission. So if the Commission hasn't approved their tariffs, they can't charge you. And if you have a transmission company that isn't going to be providing you electricity, I don't know what they're saying. They're just in charge of the wires. Well, then they're not going to have a charge for you. They won't have a rate. And Consumers Energy can't charge you a rate because they don't have jurisdiction in the frickin' township. Bill information, these are just the things it has to have on there. A designation of a rate, the due date, previous balance, amount due of energy usage, amount due for other authorized charges, amount of tax, total amount due. The rate schedule, explanation of rate schedules, explanation of how to verify the accuracy of the bill will be provided by the company upon request. I don't see any of that. I don't see that on my bill. I do see something that says designation of a rate, but what are you going to do? So we're going to ask for it. If not, tariff charges cannot terminate service. Okay. A utility may include charges for unregulated services, such as appliance repair or appliance protection programs, together with charges for gas, electric service on the same monthly bill if the charges for the unregulated service are designated clearly and separately from the charges of the gas or electric service, and it is noted that it is an unregulated service. Failure to pay an unregulated service charge may result in termination of that service, but not the termination of gas or electric service. Right? So there's even certain things on your bill that they can't turn your power off for if you didn't pay that part of the bill. A lot of this is, well, what do they have filed with this commission? And eventually we'll get to the page that says, well, this is how you find out. If a utility overcharges a customer due to billing error, the utility shall refund or credit the amount of the paid overcharge plus 7% APR interest on the bill immediately following the discovery of the error. Upon customer request, overcharges greater than $10 shall be refunded within 30 days. Well, I believe I'm due a refund from Consumers Energy for the very first day that I ever signed that damn piece of paper or did whatever it was I did, because it was all done by fraud. So how is it then that Consumers Energy can turn my power off because they don't have any jurisdiction over my power? Voluntary termination. Subject to provisions of these rules, utility customer or authorized representative shall do all of the following. Somehow what we did is we made Consumers Energy, myself, made them my authorized representative. They're a middleman between me and the power producer, whomever that is, which is basically the public utility. And we're supposed to get it for free, and corporations are supposed to pay for it. So we should be able to get back all of our money, right? I'm just saying that's what it says. If there's a billing error, there is. Per rule R460.126, billing error. I was overcharged. Please provide a refund. Access to rules and rates. Can they prove their claim? There you go. A utility, except for rural electric cooperative, shall provide each customer within 60 days of commencing service, within 60 days of issuance, at least once a year, the following information with a copy to the commission. The following information with a copy to the commission. Okay? So, shall provide each customer we're supposed to get this within 60 days of commencing service, within 60 days after issuance of new rate case order, and at least once each year, the following information. On and on and on and on and on. All these things are supposed to tell us. And they could. I don't really ever look in the bill that close. I guess I should have, but they're supposed to do it. Procedures for shutoff. Yeah. Okay. This stuff it does start to go on after a bit, but I want to just get to the few things that are really, really important to at least go and find out what to go look for, so you can go ask the same questions. Okay, here's something to request. So for me, something to request from the commission. This is general provisions of all electric, wastewater, steam, gas utilities under committee's jurisdiction shall use these rules when filing the following documents with the commission. What they need to file with the commission. And since they needed to file it with the commission, it's public record, and we should be able to get a copy of it. The rate schedule or rider means the rate or charge for the particular classification of service, including all special terms and conditions under which service is furnished at prescribed rate or charge. Rate sheet or tariff sheet means any of the documents filed in accordance with 2022, excuse me. Standard Customer Forms Index means a listing showing the number, title, revision date for all standard forms in any format that the utility uses to document contracts or other agreements that create or alter a customer's rights or responsibilities in dealing with the utility. Standard customer forms require a customer signature. Standard customer forms require a customer signature or are specifically referenced within the rate book for execution between the utility and customers. The problem is I'm not a customer of Consumers Energy. They're not supposed to be here selling electricity. The rate book. That's what we want to get. We want to get a rate book. I could make that a little bigger. Easier on me. Rule 21. When the Commission directs the utility to file rate schedules, rules, regulations, or special contracts, the utility shall submit an electronic copy of the document in the form prescribed in the Commission's order. So let's order them to get us a copy. When submitting filings, the utility shall also submit a transmit letter listing the tariff sheets being filed, the reason or reasons for the filing, the Commission's order, yada yada. After accepting the filing, the Commission shall return an electronically stamped copy of the utility's filing and a filing acceptance letter to the utility. The acceptance letter, the utility's transmittal letter, and a stamped copy of the filing returned to the utility signify the Commission's accepted the filing. Right, so I got to have 3 pieces of paper before the Commission's accepted it, and until then it's just all been talk and they can't do it. Utility shall file or shall submit all filings electronically, formatted for printing on 8.5 by 11 inch sheet. You know why that is? So that they can send it to you. It's my opinion. I should be able to just get a hold of this Commission and say, hey, send me the electronic files that would have to do with me and Consumers Energy. And this Great Lakes cooperative they're talking about. The format of each filing shall include a blank 2-inch square area at the bottom center of each printed sheet for the Commission stamp of acceptance or approval. Well, there you go. You want to know if it's been accepted, look for the stamp in the bottom 2-inch square area. And then these are all the things it has to. Bottom right, left-hand corner. Oh, this is. And a 1-inch square blank space at the bottom right or left corner of each printed sheet to provide space for the Commission's cancellation stamp. Hallelujah, there's the cancellation stamp. Sections, all the following sections shall appear in each rate book in the order shown. Now, this is something that all these utilities are supposed to file with this Commission. Title page, an index, table of contents, description of territory served, index of cities, villages, townships, and counties served, technical terms and abbreviations, miscellaneous rules and regulations, rate schedule and riders, standard customer forms index, tariff sheet numbers for every sheet in each rate book shall be numbered using decimal system. Original tariff sheet markings. Utility shall mark original sheet number in the upper right-hand corner of each original tariff sheet. So, utility shall mark every tariff sheet containing rate schedules, riders, and rules, regulations approved by the Commission. Order in the lower right-hand corner as shown, issued under the authority of Michigan Public Service Commission, dated, boom, case number, boom. So if it's got a rate schedule, it has to have this disclaimer from the Commission. Each rate book shall include a section for general information not suitable for the other sections. For example, if rates in certain cities, villages, township, counties are governed by franchise permits or agreements, then those agreements shall be described in this section. So I should be able to go to the miscellaneous section and find the franchise for the Township of Oakfield. And if I don't, well, then they don't have one. When the rate schedule is to be canceled, the rate schedule tariff sheet or sheets shall be replaced with a revised tariff sheet, numbered accordingly. Yeah. Special contracts. So this is what I think they may have us under, some kind of special contract where we made them, or I made Consumers Energy my authorized representative, and they're dealing with the utility. As a middleman, gouging the hell out of you. When a utility enters into a special contract to provide services in a manner or rate not specifically covered by its filed rate schedules, rules, regulations, the utility shall file an application for approval of the special contract with the Commission. If the Commission specifies any modifications to the proposed special contract, yada, yada, yada. Okay. I hope you're getting the point that apparently you should go and look to see, number one, if in your state it says in the Constitution that utilities have to have a franchise. Just search on the word franchise. Or business license, right? The word license would be another one, whatever it is. And if they do, well, then go look in your ordinances for your municipality. I'm in a township, but it could be city, village, whatever you have, and see if they have a section in there for franchises, for utilities, if they talk about them, and see what it says. And start following there. Whatever it gives as a reference to something else, go look at it. But you're looking for the thing that says, well, you know, that the entity they're describing isn't the entity that's sending you the bill. And therefore, the entity sending you the bill isn't the one that has the franchise. It's still a publicly regulated company. I mean, Consumers Energy is regulated by this Public Service Commission. They just don't have any right to charge me for electricity. What was this one here? Uniform system of accounts. Now, this is another great thing, right? That here's more evidence that this is all from the federal level. The contents uniform system of accounts for major and non-major electrical utilities is omitted from publication of the Michigan Register and Michigan Administrative Code pursuant to something. The rescinded rule may be found at, okay. So basically what it's saying is, here where this rule should be, we're not going to put it in, but if you go here, you can look at it. Unfortunately, this is a dead link, and you can't go look at it. But it's the content, the uniform system of accounts for major and non-major electrical utilities. What did the rule say? It's not here. That's what it's saying. But then adopted by reference of federal standards, the Federal Uniform System of Accounts for major and non-major electrical utilities, promulgated by the United States Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, is codified at 18 CFR Part 101 as amended through April 1st, 2010, is adopted by reference in these rules as of January 1st, 2011. They just made, 18 CFR the rules for this uniform system of accounts for major, non-major electrical utilities. It's a federal program under federal law. Well, now if they lie to you in a federal matter, this is where the False Statements and Accountability Act comes in, because it's all federal. But it isn't done through the state agencies. It's done, that you think of, it's done through these lowercase state agencies, which are running over in the side. This place here, Michigan Department of Technology, Management, and Budget. Functions as the administrative arm of the lowercase state government. And the uppercase state government those offices have been vacated. Nobody's taken a proper oath. Don't have a bond. They're not holding the office. But if they're an attorney, which these judges are that are sitting there, and the attorneys that keep taking you in there, well, all attorneys are under the administrative branch. They're civil officers who have taken a voluntary oath to uphold, to support the Constitution of the United States. That's the first part. It means it takes precedence over anything after that. And we're going to point out that they're violating their, not necessarily with the Service Commission here, but in other things having to do with you, that these officers are violating their oath. The federal side of it. We keep trying to take it to the state side, but all those offices are vacated, so no one's going to do anything. But if you go to the federal side, which is the administrative board, well, what do you think? State Administrative Board has general supervisor control over the administrative activities of all lowercase state departments and agencies. It's made up of the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, state treasurer, superintendent of public institutions, director of Department of Transportation, so forth and so on. And tell them that the attorneys aren't appearing in their proper person. They're not upholding the Constitution. Because you don't have any constitutional rights, but the Constitution is there to protect your God-given unalienable rights. All right, I think I'm about done. So, uniform system of accounts, uniform system of accounts. It's supposed to be this uniform system of accounts, and it's a federal matter. Right? Just like... this one was it? No. I don't know where I put that stuff for the adoptions. Oh, well, hang on just a second. Okay, just one last quick little thing. This is when I went to look for the ordinances for the Township of Oakfield, or Oakfield Township, however I asked. Found the PDF online, and right, we just go through what it says, and eventually it said, there we go, Chapter 18, Great Lakes Energy Cooperative Electrical Franchise Ordinance. And so it's the only one in the only franchise listed. And according to the 1963 Constitution, State of Michigan, well, every public utility has to have a franchise. So go see what yours says. And then go look at your bill and see if they're the same. And if they're not the same, well, you just found yourself enough reason to start looking a little bit deeper. Because the one that doesn't have the franchise may have to give you back all the money you gave them. That'd be a nice little bonus, wouldn't it? Absolutely. Okay, but it ain't about the money. It's about the freedom, right? It's about making them stop doing what they're doing. And this would be a big one, is to get out from under the frickin' energy monster that tries to run our lives. Okay, I'm going to stop right now. You all have a great day. We'll see.